Hi, my name's Aaron Curry, and the most important thing that I've learned as a 20-year property veteran with over 200 properties in my portfolio and having helped our clients buy over 1,000 properties and counting is that area is more important than discount when building a highly profitable property portfolio. I'm not going to lie, that's something that I missed totally for my first 10 houses. And that's why my first 10 houses were a complete disaster. It wasn't until I learned from my mistakes and other really successful property investors that I discovered the truth that area is far more important than discount when building a highly profitable property portfolio. This rule, by the way, is true for every property investment strategy, whether it's buy-to-let that you're going to be doing, whether it's HMOs, whether it's holiday lets, whether it's service accommodation. It's true for all of those. You see, buying a property at discount is great because you make money when you buy. But property puts money in your pocket through monthly cash flow and capital growth. And a house can only do those two things if A, it's rented, and B, it's in an area where property prices at least rise with the national average. So the real wealth in property is found by owning a portfolio for the long term. Now, just so you know, by long term, what I mean, I'm thinking my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids, because after all, a property portfolio is a legacy that you can leave to your great kids and grandkids as well. So you can make great returns today, and they can make great returns in the future as well. So if you're going to buy a house and never sell it, because it's going to be a legacy, then you need to know that there's high rental demand for that property, don't you? And if you're going to build a property portfolio, buy-to-let portfolio, so you can enjoy a passive property income, then you need to know that your house will attract what I call lifer tenants. These are tenants that will stay in your property for 5 years or longer. They'll look after the property like it's their own. They'll say, I'm going to live here forever, and they'll look after it just like it's their own. A house will easily attract lifer tenants and give you great monthly cash flow and strong capital growth if you buy in the right area. That's why area is much more important than discount for building a highly profitable property portfolio. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying that discount's a bad thing. I love buying property at discount, but area is the most important. Discount is like your cherry on top. Now, you may or may not have studied Tony Robbins. I'm a great mentor of his. I've learned some great stuff from him. And also on top of that, having trained over 100,000 ambitious property investors myself over the last year alone, and many hundreds of thousands last few years, there's one strange thing about success and achievement that I've discovered. Something that I didn't see at first. You see, the truth about success and achievement in every area of life, whichever area it is, and especially in property investing, is that 80% of success comes from psychology. And only 20% comes from the tools that you need to achieve it. It's so important, I'm going to repeat it again. 80% of your success comes from your mindset, and only 20% comes from the proven systems, expert team, and the specific tools. That's why in this video series, we need to work on, and I'm going to give you the right mindset and the right skill set to build a buy-to-let property portfolio. And this is a buy-to-let property portfolio that will give you bigger lifetime income within 4 years, a bigger lifetime income than if you saved up £1 million in your pension. If you can learn the skills just to buy 3 of the right houses in the next 12 months, just 3 in the next 12 months. And by the way, anyone can do that. You know, whether you're a child, whether you're 90 years old, whatever point you're at, and whether you've got money or you've got no money, anybody can learn to buy 3 of the right houses in the next 12 months when they commit and they focus on this. Now, that's a big promise, isn't it? I'm making a bold promise when I say that within 4 years, you can have a bigger lifetime income than if you'd saved up £1 million pension. That's a big promise. And it's a lot to cover. That's why there's 4 videos in this video series. In the first video in the series, I revealed the 3 reasons why the property market is going to fall 5 to 10% in October, November 2020. And I also revealed when house prices will start to rise again. So if you haven't seen that video already, I strongly recommend that you stop this video right now, click the link somewhere probably to the right of this video, and you'll discover the optimum time to build a property portfolio in over a decade. And you'll also discover when this window of opportunity is going to close. In the second video in this series, I revealed the 3 ways to become a successful property investor, and the one way that's fun, fast, and simple. Again, if you haven't seen that video, I really strongly recommend that you stop this video and click somewhere to the right of this video probably, and you'll discover the only way to become a successful property investor in a fun, fast, and simple way. And the one decision that you need to make today to make that happen. In today's video, I'm going to reveal the most powerful property success tool. This is more powerful than education. It's more powerful than money. It's more powerful than time. In fact, it's more powerful than all those 3 things combined. Before we go any further and we dive in, I'd just like to explain why the video quality is not what I'd like it to be. You know, lockdown restrictions are easing, but we've still got to keep our distance from each other. So I'm not working yet with a videographer. So it's just me with my laptop and a webcam. So if you want the right mindset and you want the right skill set to build a buy-to-let portfolio that will give you a bigger lifetime income within 4 years than if you had £1 million pension, and if you want to know how you can learn to buy 3 of the right houses in the next 12 months, wherever you're starting from, and if the information is more important to you than the video quality, then you'll love this 4-part video series. Now, as I've said right through this video series, 80% of success comes from mindset and only 20% comes from the proven systems, expert team, and specific tools. And the greatest example of this in my life comes from my wife, Layla. You know, when I met Layla 15, 16 years ago now, such a blessing, she gave me the greatest gift in my life without me having to ask for it. So what was the gift that she gave me? She said, listen, you'll be you, and you do whatever you want to do. And if I like what you're doing, then I'll be here. If I don't like it, I'll be gone. She freed me. She gave me the freedom to be me and to be who I wanted to be. Now, having the loving support of my wife to be myself has given me the freedom and the courage to achieve all my goals in property and business. All my goals and go far, far further than I ever dreamed I could go. And it was that freedom that she gave me to go do that. That freedom, I couldn't have been as courageous as I was. I couldn't have gone out there and done the stuff I've done because I'd have been too busy worrying about her and what she thought. And interestingly for her, if she was sat here now on this call as well, and she tells this story when I sit with some of my students, seeing me be courageous, seeing me go out and do that because she gave me that freedom, guess what? It attracted her to me even more. And it made us even more strongly bonded. And she gave me even more freedom, etc., etc. Now, if you're thinking, my wife and family have not given me that support, and there's nothing I can do about it, I've got some great news for you, some great news. Because today, I'm going to give you a simple process to win the loving support of your family. And if you think that you and your partner are on the same page already, so you don't need this, then let me tell you why you might need this process, even though you don't think you do. About 3 years ago now, maybe 3.5, I was delivering an event in Brent Cross in London. It was one of our discovery days where people came along, they were potentially interested in investing on our done for you service, and they'd come along and listen to me speak for a couple of hours about it, and then we could have an individual session where we spent some time together. And there's this couple there that were in their late 70s, late 50s, and they were obviously still just madly in love with each other. You could kind of, during the event, you can kind of see it in their faces. You can see how they look at each other. They're still holding hands or kind of touching each other, not inappropriately or anything like that, but they're touching each other. You can just see how in love they are with each other throughout the event. So it gets to the end of the event, and they get this 10-15 minute slot to sit down with me privately. And I sit down with Paul and Joanne, and I ask them the question that every property investor needs to ask themselves. It's always how I start a conversation with someone. Whatever question they ask me, I say, listen, before we start, what are you trying to achieve? Where are you trying to get to as a couple? And I explain to them that before we talk about the investment, I need to know what they're trying to achieve. If I can help you achieve your goals, then I'll tell you more about my portfolio building service. Then I'll tell you how it can work for you. And if I can't help you achieve your goals, I'm not going to waste your time, because you need to achieve your goals. It's not, it's not about if my vehicle's right. It's about what are your goals, and then we'll work out if the vehicle's right. So Paul understands that, and he nods and he says, listen, Aaron, we've worked all our lives together for the last 35 years. By the way, they've been together for 35 years now. And they've had a business that they've run together for 35 years. And they've brought their kids together for 35 years. So he says, look, Aaron, we've worked all our lives together. For the last 35 years, we've run this business together. We've brought up our kids together. We've shared this just most amazing life together. And to achieve everything we've done, we've just slogged our guts out. I've spent the last 35 years slogging my guts out, providing for the family, making sure we have a great time, making sure the business does well. And we've had to make so many sacrifices to get here. And Aaron, I'm just looking forward to kind of 4 or 5 years from now. I want to retire, and I need some time for myself. I need some time back for me. I'm looking forward to maybe playing golf, 3-4 times a year, going out and playing golf, just being able to chill out and relax. And I'll never forget this moment. I'll never forget it, ever. Because at that moment, I turn and look at Joanne. And Joanne has got a tear kind of welling up in her eye. And she kind of blinks, and the tear runs down her cheek. And the tears start to flow. And I look at Joanne and I said, Joanne, something Paul said has obviously just triggered something really emotional in you. And Paul's looking at her really distressed now. And I said, what is it that you were hoping for? What did you want to get from property? And Joanne turns to me and she says, Paul's totally right. We've worked amazingly hard. We've put everybody else first for the last 35 years. And I adore this man. And I want to thank him for the wonderful life that we've shared. And I'm just looking forward to retiring so I can spend all my time with Paul. I've just been looking forward to it for years and years and years. Not on the business, not on the family. I just want to spend my time with this man. And she's now crying. He's now crying. This couple have lived in each other's pockets for 35 years. You couldn't be any closer. They're clearly madly in love throughout the event. They've worked together for 35 years, joined at the hip. They've brought their family up in the same way. But yet they've never talked about their retirement goals. They've never talked about how they'll spend their time. And that misalignment in their goals has really hurt Joanna. She was looking forward to spending all this time with Paul. He was looking forward to some time and space to do some things that he's never been allowed to do. And neither of them is wrong. But they've just never taken the time to have this conversation. Now, the great thing is they identified this issue before they started building the portfolio. And we worked with Paul and Joanne on aligning the goals. And now they've got a proper portfolio that will allow them, they've compromised and will allow them to retire and do what they dream of doing. But if this couple who've worked so closely for all that time have got different property and retirement goals, is it possible? I ask you the question, that you and your partner do have different goals? Is it possible your goals are not quite as aligned as you think they are? Just like Paul and Joanne, is it possible that you may not be as aligned as you thought? And it's only when someone asks you what your goals are that you see the problem or you flush out the problem. So if you can accept that you or your partner could have different goals, then let me share with you my simple process. I've used this with tens of thousands of people to win the loving support of your family, because there's nothing more important. It will set you free. And by the way, you winning their loving support doesn't mean they have to want to do this with you. I've worked with so many people that go, but I want her to do it with me. This is amazing. I want him to do it with me. Doesn't mean loving support doesn't mean they want to do the exact same thing. But it means that they're bought in, that you've got the buy-in and the support to do this, that the family are committed to it. So how do you win the loving support of your family? The first thing to realize is that if your actions are going to affect family members, that you need to get their buy-in and support before you start. You might be affecting them financially because you're going to take a chunk of money and worry the hell out of them with moving that money around and doing other stuff with it. You might be affecting them emotionally. It might not be financial, but they might be the worrier. Layla in our partnership, she's the worrier. She's the one that loves and cares for the family. She's the one that thinks ahead for the kids, thinks ahead for me and worries about them. I'm like the gladiator going out there doing it. But because she worries, she sees things coming in advance. And I sometimes see that as, oh, she's holding me back, she's worrying too much. But actually, that allows me to realign. That allows me to get things right. So it might be they need emotional support and emotionally need to buy in. It might be financial. It might be just about time. So even if you're going to take this property journey on your own, it's going to require at least a time sacrifice from your family. That you're going to be around less often. Now, maybe you've got a family that don't like you and they don't want you around, but I'm hoping you've got a family around you. So they need to be aware of that so they can give you the time that you need. So it's not always a battle of, oh, you're always doing that. If you don't have that time freedom, then the time will be eroded. As soon as you don't put in the regular time commitment consistently on your property business, I guarantee you, you're not going to achieve the meaningful results that you and your family want. And I'm not saying this needs to be hours and hours and hours. It just needs to be a set amount of hours consistently, week after week after week, because consistency gets results. You'll never see someone who's successful who isn't consistent. I guarantee you that. And when you run into problems, forget the time bit, you run into problems because you will hit bumps in the road. If you don't have the support of your family, it's easy for them to tell you to quit. And it's easy for you to do that because it's harder than you thought. And your property journey is now creating this conflict with your family, more conflict than you thought. And it's not giving you meaningful results yet. So you quit. But if you have the loving support of your family, then when you hit a bump in the road, your family can ask you supportive questions. They say, well, do you know anyone that might be able to help you with that? Do you know anyone that's done this before that might have a solution? Imagine how that will make you feel. Totally different outcome now because they're being supportive rather than, I told you not to do this. You see, the only difference between successful people and everyone else is what they do when they hit a bump in the road. There's one thing that I can guarantee you. You're going to hit bumps in the road in your property journey. You're going to hit bumps in the road in life. If you have the loving support of your family and you have property experts that you can lean on, then you will find a solution every time and you will continue on your journey to financial freedom. And you will achieve the success that you've worked so hard for and that you've dreamed of. Without the loving support of your family, you're more likely to quit. Often inches from that success that you deserve, often inches from getting that final breakthrough to get where you need to get to. And I've seen it so many times when you don't get this buy-in. So the first thing that you need to agree on is what you want property to do for you. So do you want property to allow you to quit your job and you can live off the income? Do you love your job? So you want property to allow your partner to quit their job and they can live off the income? Or do you want property to allow you to go on better holidays as a family? Is this just about, let's create some amazing cash flow and we'll have just the most amazing holiday each year? Because you see, saying you want to replace your salary is a simple monetary goal. It's about the money. But without knowing what difference it will make to your life, it's not going to inspire you or your family. It's not going to help you break through those tougher times. But if you say that you and your partner will be able to retire in 4 years, then that's a motivating goal. You know that every house you buy takes you closer to that goal. Every viewing you do takes you closer to that goal. Every offer you make, whether it's accepted or not, takes you closer to your goal. So the first thing you need to agree is what you want property to do for you. Even if your partner's skeptical and says, well, we're not going to get 40,000 a year, it's not going to happen. Okay, I get you don't believe it. That's absolutely fine. But what if we did have 40,000 a year coming in, how would you spend it? What would you spend it on? Okay, that's the first thing you need to agree. Agree what you would spend it on, how life would like. Okay, and something that you would agree on. Then you need to agree, how much money you're going to invest. Secondly, okay, so you've got something you can agree on. By the way, if you're struggling to get someone to agree on that, say, look, let's imagine there was 40,000 coming in. Forget property investment for now, but just imagine there's 40,000 coming in. How would you spend it? How would we spend it? What would you like to quit your job? Always a great question to ask your spouse if you're trying to get buy-in. If you could work 2 days a week less, would you like to do that? Many of them will say yes. Okay. So is it okay with you if I set a goal to try and get to where there's another 500 a month coming in or 700 a month coming in so you can quit 2 days a week? Would you be happy if I try and make it so you can work 2 days a week less? No, I wouldn't be happy with that. You know, how can they say no to that? Okay. So you get agreement of how you're going to spend this money. Now, once you agree on that, you need to agree how much money you're going to invest to start with. If you've got money yourself, how much of that money are you going to put in the game? Okay. Or if you haven't got money and you're going to need to go raise this money from other people, how much are you going to raise to start with from other people? Money is the biggest source of fights in any relationship. I've been working with couples and individuals for 20 years now, both as a mortgage broker and in property investing. And as a mortgage broker, I wasn't a normal mortgage broker. We used to coach people. We used to go 6 times in the first year just to coach them and teach them how to talk to each other about money. It's the biggest single source of fights in any relationship because you have different views and opinions which were founded when you were 7, 8, or 9 years old. So you aren't starting your property journey to spark fights with your family. That's not the goal. So speak about money before you start. Agree on how much of your savings you're going to invest. Appreciate that you're getting their buy-in. Appreciate for them emotionally. They might feel the stress. You've worked hard to get this savings or this equity in your house. So appreciate where they're at. Be appreciative, be compassionate, be caring about that. This way, your partner will feel included in your decisions. And they'll feel that their opinions and their feelings matter. That's only going to bring you closer together. You know, if you're someone who hasn't gone deep like this in the last 20 years, maybe your relationship needs this anyway, in all areas of your life. And then there's one final question you need to ask. How much time are you going to invest in your property journey? You see, if you're going to invest a day a week in your property journey, then you need your family to accept that Saturdays or Sundays may be lost. But if you're saying to them, I'm going to do this for a year, for the next year, I'll give up each Saturday. But by the end of the year, we'll have at least 3 houses. And on the back of that, within 4 years, we'll be financially free, or we'll have 50,000 a year coming in, or whatever the number is. Is that worth giving up a day a week for 52 weeks? It's 50 weeks that we can mark off on the chart, 50 days that I'm going to give up to create a £50,000 salary for the rest of my life, income for the rest of my life, okay? But you need to get the buy-in. If you're going to succeed, you need to take consistent action, like I've already said, in your property business. And this is how you win that time and make sure that you're not asked to compromise it. Now, you might not need a full day. It might need 4 hours a week. You might be committing to 15 hours a week. You might be committing to 3 hours a week. Whatever it is, get buy-in and agreement. It might be 2 evenings a week that you work on your property business. It might be your lunch hours and 1 evening, okay? Or it might be at 1 evening and 2 hours on a Saturday morning. Or you work till midnight on a Saturday when everyone else goes to bed. Or you get up a couple of hours earlier. By the way, if you're struggling to find time, just get up an hour earlier, okay? You can do that for a year. Monday to Friday, you can get up 1 hour early for a year. Yeah, you'll be a bit tired when it gets to the weekend. But I tell you what, it will energize you once you start to get traction. It will blow your brains. Or stop putting as much rubbish in your mouth and you'll have more energy. I'm being hard-hitting now, but you know this is true. It's true for all of us. So you have to find something that works for you and the family. You have to find a commitment that says you're going to put time into this. So once you have their buy-in on the time sacrifice you need to make, then it will never be a source of conflict. So make sure you ask these 3 questions before you ask anything else. In fact, I'm going to put them up on the screen for you. You know, here's the good news. Those are the only 3 questions that you need to ask to win the loving support of your family. Number 1, what do you want property to do for you? What do we want property to do for us? Number 2, how much money are we going to invest? How much money are we willing to put into this? And number 3, how much time are you going to invest in your property journey? Now, by the way, on number 2, if they're not willing to risk a lot to start with, don't get in a big fight about that. Be grateful that they're willing to risk some and say, great, let's start with that. And then let me prove the model. And then we'll maybe be happy as a couple to do more, eh? And also I'll go learn to raise it from other people as well. So then we get our bit going and I can raise it from other people and I can show you this works. And then we can reflect and ask these 3 questions again. So number 1, what do you want property to do for you? Number 2, how much money are we going to invest? And number 3, how much time are we going to invest into the property journey consistently, committed in the diary consistently? Now, what I thought I'd do is give you some other questions as well that you might find useful. Now, all of these questions, somewhere around this video is a link that you can click to get a free report. This report covers all 4 videos in this series, and it's a real deep dive. So as well as watching me, many of you learn from watching, and I get that's your best way to learn. Other people learn from reading. What I recommend is you do both. But you can download the report. The report's got these questions in it. So you can literally print it off and you've got them. I'm giving you this as a tool, as a gift, so that you can move forward. So here's some other questions. Let me put them up on the screen. Here's some other questions you might find useful. What do you want property to give you? Whose life will change because of your property success? It's not going to just affect you. If you've got 50,000 a year, what will you spend your time doing with that money? Well, I'm going to spend more time with my kids. I'm going to spend more time with my parents. If my parents get sick, will I be able to look after them? So who else's life will change? By the way, who will you be a role model for? And if you step up and you do this, who around you in your friendship circles is likely to follow you? If you're a leader in your friendship circles, who's likely to go, I'd like a bit of this? Who'll let you guide them so they can get a bit of this too? The ripple effect of this is gigantic. Because you came this way, because you stepped up and you did this, the ripple effect is gigantic. And what does financial freedom look like? Where will you live? What car will you drive? What will your kids learn because you got good at property? What kind of role model will you be for your kids financially? What choices will you be able to make because of your property success? And I'm not telling you to change your life. You might love your job. You might love where you live. They're your choices. What choices will you be able to make because you came this way? Now, I want you to make a commitment to speak to your partner right now. I want you to commit to this right now to win their loving support for your property journey. As I said, there's only 3 questions that you need to ask, and they're all in the report below here. And these questions are likely to bring you closer together. They'll create discussion. They'll create some movement, okay? Be calm in that. Be understanding in that. Be respectful in that. But they'll create discussion. They'll bring you closer together, and they will align your goals. That is game-changing. And if they don't do that immediately, the one thing that they will do is stop arguments down the road. They'll stop arguments down the road because you've had the discussion today. In the next video in this series, I'm going to show you why area is more important than discount to build that highly profitable buy-to-let portfolio. I've been saying that across 3 videos. I'm going to show you exactly why area is more important. I'm going to share with you my golden rules so that you only ever buy world-class properties. Houses that have a high demand, a great monthly cash flow, and strong equity growth. I'm going to send you that video in a couple of days. But until then, thank you so much for watching this video today. Please take the action with what I've just taught you. It will change the game for you, I promise you. Look after yourself. Look after the people you love. Bottom line, invest with knowledge, invest with confidence, create financial freedom. I'll speak to you really soon. Thank you for listening.